Love is what we are made of. Love is what we belong to. Love is our deepest prayer. Love is what we are made of. Love is what we belong to. Love is our deepest prayer. Love is what we are made of. Love is what we belong to. Love is our deepest prayer. Love is what we are made of. Love is what we belong to. Love is our deepest prayer. Love is what we are made of. Love is what we belong to. Love is our deepest prayer. Love is what we are made of. Love is what we belong to. Love.
Good morning, Napa Valley. So good to see everybody on this beautiful day. Sometimes the foggy, cloudy days are more beautiful than the sun because then it delays that heat a little bit. I know it'll be summer before you know it, right? Such a great day to be here at the Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Jay Lang, and welcome all of you. This happens to be your first time or your first time in a while. We welcome you to be here fully. As we open up with some music, let's welcome Bodhi to his piano.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Are we here? Are we in? Do we have the right song up there? Oh yeah, look at this. This is a new one. Earth is my temple and breath is my prayer. We can share the love anytime, anywhere. River down the mountain to the deep blue sea. Drink from this fountain, forever be free. Ready? Earth is my temple and breath is my prayer. We can share the love anytime, anywhere. River down the mountain to the deep blue sea. Drink from this fountain, forever be free. I think we got it. Earth is my temple and breath is my prayer. We can share the love anytime, anywhere. River down the mountain to the deep blue sea. Drink from this fountain, forever be free. Last time. Earth is my temple and breath is my prayer. We can share the love anytime, anywhere. River down the mountain to the deep blue sea. Drink from this fountain, forever be free. Forever be free. Forever be free.
Beautiful.
Forever be free.
So if you didn't get the email, we were inviting people to dress radiantly today. But what I know is it's not what you wear that makes you radiant, but your inner radiance. So you might say somebody, they look beautiful or they look radiant, but really the phrase is you are beautiful, you are radiant. So I'd like you, invite you to stand up and look around and look at somebody and tell them you are radiant. Go ahead. You are radiant. Good seeing you this morning. You are radiant. We also like to begin our service. If you can wrap that up a little bit, it's hard to, I know. But we say our vision and mission together. So if you look on your screen, whether you are online or here in the sanctuary and we read together, we are an inclusive community for spiritual growth and compassionate action. And our mission statement, we are co-creating a world that works for everyone by living intentionally, loving unconditionally, and seeing God in all people and all faiths. A great affirmation for today and for our daily lives as well. So thank you for joining in, participation in the fulfillment of this vision and mission in everything we do here. It was a Friday night, we had a wonderful event here. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony to officially open the sanctuary. And you can see the courtyard. What did I say, the sanctuary? Yeah, the courtyard. And this is a picture of, on your left side is Napa City Mayor Scott Sedgley, Councilperson Liz Alessio, of course you know the next guy, and then our own Brad Wagon Connect, former board supervisor. So we all literally cut the ribbon. So we found out they're very sharp. They're kind of dangerous. So I was reminded not to run with them, so that's a good idea. But we still have the bow here, and it was just a beautiful event. We had wonderful music into the evening. The lights were out, and it was just a beautiful event to have. So I'm so happy that so many of you are available to be a part of that. And then we're also going to continue this, what we call the unbottled music series. You know, in contrast to Bottle Rock, this is unbottled. And we'll have another concert about the same time in July. I think it's the 22nd. If you know Johnny Smith, he's a local band also that'll be joined with us. Friday night was Jealousy League. And we're scheduling one for August. We're still confirming that, so I'll let you know about that, but we'll have another one in August. We want to open up the courtyard in so many ways. So glad that everybody was a part of that could be, and you'll just join us in knowing that it's an open venue for so many things, available for rentals. If you know any events that are coming on, weddings or corporate events or birthday parties, whatever that's available for rental. So, as a matter of fact, we would like to have one couple who'd be married in there, and we'd willing to give them the site and the officiant in exchange for use of photographing of the event and permission to use those photos for promotion. So what a deal. But it's got to be an inside deal. We're not putting that out on the internet. It's got to be, you got to know somebody who knows that. So just have them contact me if they're interested in that. And it needs to be in the next few months too. It needs to be a summer or early fall wedding. So, and then this is continuing Pride Month. Right now as we speak, the Pride Festival, the Pride Parade is happening in the city right now. I think someday I keep thinking, it'd be fun to be a part of that or to see it. But then I go, the traffic and the people. But I do want to go some Sunday. It would be great to do that and just see it where so much of this movement started in San Francisco, and honor this as we continue to celebrate in our theme to live out loud. And it's interesting this month that usually we think of July as being our month of freedom. As we celebrate our nation's 4th of July. But really for me, June has become more of a month of freedom. Not only Pride Month, but many things around that. Tomorrow is this anniversary of Supreme Court decision of Marriage Equality Act. And that's something really wonderful to celebrate. But on the other hand, yesterday was the anniversary of reversing the women's guarantee to have rights, the right to choose, which was followed by many states restricting that right to choose. And this had so many, it's just a year ago, but there's been so many articles about the huge cost it had. One is the women I talk to feel less free, even if they would never need to exercise that right. Just telling them they don't have that right diminishes and demeans, according to them, who they are. And it's sad. It's really sad. Also, in those states that have restricted the use of women's rights, medical services have been reduced too, because a lot of those clinics provided birth control and medical services for women, and those clinics are not there anymore. So the potential of more unwanted pregnancies are there, and the potential of women harming their body and being present, being just concerned for their health is true. But it is one a Pride Month, and so we celebrate that, and we also continue to advocate for women and all people for social and political freedom in whatever way. And as we continue to talk and teach about the path of personal liberation here. I did want to say this, the board voted for this month to give our community tithe to Connections, LGBTQ Connections, which is an organization that both helps foster individuals as well as families in support of their choices, as well as their orientation and their expression of all things. So it's good that we are able to support that organization and their support and information they give those who are seeking to understand not only their own orientation, their own expression, but those whom they love, to get information as trans and different orientations. So we're grateful for that organization. And then on July 9th, we have an event here that's celebrating the first teacher that started our Spanish-speaking ministry, Miguel Zualta, and that's on July 9th. And what it means for our community on July 9th is right after the service, they're going to have a lunch provided. I can't remember, it's $20 per plate. Even if you don't stay for the whole event, you can have lunch, and they have extraordinary food. And you would pay much more for that kind of food elsewhere. So join in for dinner and stay for the event, where there'll be music and dancing and speaking and different things like that. So this should be a fun event for our Spanish-speaking ministry there on July 9th. And then on July 29th is Crush MS. Tickets are available at crushms.org. Or if you would like to volunteer, Karen Reed will be back next week to talk to her about that. And we want to know that you all to know that we're here for you in every way. If you need any resources or anything or prayer, the practitioners will be available after this service for prayer, as well as prayer. The forms you can fill out in the lobby or online to request prayer. It is our privilege and honor to pray with you and for you during the week. So now we'll begin the sacred part of our service, and the guidance on the sacred part of the service is, Bodhi, we love his music. We love to appreciate him. And after this song, what I'd like to do is just stay in the silence and begin this sacred time. We'll clap for you later, okay?
I love coming to Napa, I tell you. It's a pilgrimage every time.
You feel comfortable closing your eyes. Just bringing your awareness to within yourself, within your soul and your heart. And recognizing a part of you that is divine. For Spirit is in you and around you, that fills up the space here and beyond. It is in all things and creates and knows this oneness of all life. The life that is abundant, the life that is joyful, peaceful, and loving. And we can recognize this part in ourselves that we are radiant divine beings that's connected to all of life. As we open up this time together, we know the space we're in is blessed with Spirit. We recognize the divine, and we recognize the entire property, the courtyard, and the city as blessed and sacred. For all life is this way. As we take a moment to be in the silence, we can imagine the Spirit is urging us to cut the ribbon that holds our hearts back so that we have an undefended heart. We can imagine the space as being sacred that we're in, a place of healing, a place of wholeness, a place of vitality and life. Even in the cooing of a child, we know this is sacred. We know the sacredness that we know in this moment. It's not because of this space, it's because of our own divinity, our own connection, our own oneness. So wherever we are, all life is sacred. And we're grateful for this, now and always. And so it is. I would like to invite one of our new practitioners, Don, up here. Come on up, Don. There you go.
Hello.
So how do you say it's Pinkney?
Pinkney.
Pinkney. So you were originally born in England, and you've been here for about 10 years.
Yes.
So you recently graduated from practitioner classes, and you passed your written test, your oral exam, which we're so happy about. We have joy about that. So, what called you to be a practitioner?
Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, and I told Jay, "Don't tell me what you're going to ask."
Right.
And now he's asking, and I'm at the moment where I have to respond. So, so I wasn't called to be a practitioner. Like, it wasn't something that I decided I wanted or thought about. I just started the inner journey and all the education, and I thought I was being selfish and doing it for myself. And Reverend Jay kept going on about being a practitioner, and I didn't really understand fully what a practitioner would do, but I never thought I'd get to that part. And then I guess then I just realized, hang on a second, this is all falling into place. This is what I've been aspiring for. So that started falling into place, and then I think I just got to the end of the journey recently and realized it wasn't even that it was falling into place, that there was a calling to share the gift of God. And then that was immense. and here I am at the start of the journey.
And what's interesting is you recently were let go of your job, but you see that as a divine.
Yeah, it was all part of it. Yeah, I got terminated. I brought it all about on myself, because it just wasn't in resonance in my life. And the second it happened, I knew that it was for my highest good, and I've just been using the time as a gift to just as part of this transformation that I'm in now. And it's scary as hell. I just got to keep going.
Yeah, and you're opening up ideas of doing more practitioner work with people as well as life coaching. So we're so happy for your new exploration of life. So let's give her another round of applause.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And now a little more music. And you can clap again for Bodhi again now.
Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. On my mind. Actually, when the theme was freedom, this song came to my mind. I wrote a song for my grandmother. Her name was Mary, and she was a devout Catholic. And she went to church every day. And that kind of blows my mind. Woo! But, I never sing this song in public because it always makes me cry. Cry me a river. It's called She Believed in Jesus. And she was my father's mother, and she liked her coffee black and her toast burnt. And she would come visit us in California from New York, and she would sit and hold court with the 5 kids, and she was like Grandma Maine, we called her. She lived most her life in the house her daddy built. The oldest of 7, she had a steel-woven will. In the summer there were stories of the family tree, and the prayer of St. Francis was her legacy to me. She had a heart full of humor and laughter to share. I could feel her love, I knew that she cared. But I never understood why she never remarried, why the pain of her life she alone so carried. But she believed in Jesus. Every day she'd say her prayers. She'd ask for his guidance in all her affairs. When she finally passed on, she knew with him she would be. She believed in Jesus, he would set her free. The mother of my father, she held a special place. The wisdom of the ages illumined her face. The Lessons she taught me I remember today. Practice forgiveness, you'll always find your way. Well, I went home to see her just before she died. Though she left her childhood home, she never lost her pride. She told me of her journey and I felt a state of grace. And even through the hard times, she always had her faith. For she believed in Jesus. Every day she'd say her prayers. She'd ask for his guidance in all her affairs. And when she finally passed on, she knew with him she would be. For she believed in Jesus, he would set her free. She believed in Jesus. Every day she'd say her prayers. She'd ask for his guidance in all her affairs. And when she finally passed on, she knew with him she would be. Well, she believed in Jesus, he would set her free. For she believed Jesus, he would set her free. Thank you.
It's a beautiful song, so sweet. That's wonderful. You know, what's interesting about that song is I have lately been going through a process of remembering that Christianity is a valid path. I've had some judgment as of late because of certain conservative Christians are pushing back against some of the LGBTQ and women's rights and different kinds of the racist, the Black Lives Matters and things like that, that I've had some judgments around conservative Christians. And then but lately I've, as of very recently, just remembering that Christianity is a valid path. And Christianity, especially when you consider the teachings of Jesus, continued to be a big influence on my own personal beliefs. And we all come from different traditions, and it's this mixture that we come here together, and it's important that we embrace all faiths. And that means all faiths. I always considered this as, like for me growing up Christian, it wasn't the whole answer. And I found for me the whole answer here. And for many of us that are here today and online, our beliefs here, the New Thought beliefs that we teach and talk about here, are the complete package for us. For others, though, this center, they come to classes, they come to events, they attend every now and then here. I would call this, thinking of our faith, it's the health insurance, okay? For most people that come here, it's the whole, that's all the insurance they need. They have 100% of their insurance here. Other people, it's their supplemental insurance. So they have, perhaps it's yoga or another faith they're part of or another spiritual practice they do, and they come here for their supplemental insurance. If you want to know, just in case you want the insurance, we also have fire, life, and home insurance. The fire's insurance is and if you want to call it maybe assurance that there is no hell. So that's your fire insurance there. You're not going to burn anywhere. The life insurance is there's life everlasting. No, you were a soul before you came into this planet, and you will continue to be this soul, this light after you leave. So no, and you don't have to earn that. It's life assurance for everybody. And then home, that this is a spiritual home for everybody, guaranteed, right? So you're covered wherever you are. So this month we've been talking about the living out loud, and particularly this week we're talking about free to belong. And belonging is a need we have, as it's a human need, that we all want to belong in some way, that we seek to be mindful and take the upper road, so to speak, to take the higher road, the transcendent road. But we all know that we can be part of a group and not belong if we're not willing to show up as our whole self, our vulnerable self, our true self. That being with people does not necessarily mean we belong. And we all have our own ways of being, our own ways of showing up, and we honor that wherever they are. And I think it's important for us to honor that expression, but also give space for people to express who they are. I think too many times we have a narrow judgment or constriction of who we think somebody is. And even if we've known them for a long time, that person can be somebody different the next time we meet them. We're different, they're different. So we allow that space for them to unfold what's going on with them right here and right now. So we let go of that box we have put them in for our own comfort, and we expand that and let that be. Groucho Marx, one of my favorite comedians, said, "I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member." I know the self-deprecation humor, but it's kind of interesting in a way, because we walk tenderly on this earth wanting to belong, but fearful that we might not be accepted. You've probably seen either on television or maybe in a live performance or some kind, and the musician or speaker would, there'd be applause, and he or she would go, no, but then they'd also be doing this, right? We're doing that all the time. We're pushing people away, but we're really needing this deeper connection with people. And the only way to do that is, instead of this, is to do this. And also for others to allow that space to be who they are right here and right now. There's an African tradition of greeting each other, about really seeing one another. That's, I think, in many different cultures in Africa, but in particular the Zulu tradition that I was reading about. And like a lot of nature-based or earth-based religions, all African cultures were based in oneness, the sacredness of life, just like the Native Americans here, like a lot of Asian cultures and ancient European cultures. They were based in this sacredness of all life. There were missionaries that came over there and told them a different story. And now there are many African nations that are homophobic, trying to reduce the role of women in power and leadership because they believed a different story that we know is a lie, because anything that doesn't offer comfort and empowerment and freedom is a lie. That's not the nature of spirit. But let's go back to that original idea in the Zulu tribe. When they greeted somebody, they would say, "Sawubona," which means "I see you. You're important to me. I value you. All my attention is with you. I see you, and I allow myself to discover who you are, to see your fears and notice things that you wished were different, but I notice them without judgment. I accept you for what you are, and that you are a part of me." All that with one word. That's pretty amazing, right? But culturally, that's what was understood. I think we can still do the same with hello, how are you, but we do it in a different way. We give, it's a phrase with space when we say it. And there are many other cultures that have different kinds of greetings. I mean, India, the namaste, and different ways, that it didn't start with avatar to say, I see you. It started much with ancient cultures. Valerie Carr talks about, I know you're a part of me I don't know yet. So I think we can shift this. And I think there's another important piece about the Zulu culture that was, as I read about, was important. They believe that no person is evil, that sometimes crises and imbalances make us stray away from our natural goodness. And if someone in a village or community that was in a Zulu tribe of ancient times would, even fairly recently, would commit an inappropriate or offensive act, they would be invited to the center of the community and then be surrounded by people. And the person would get a chance to tell their story about what happened. And they would be greeted at this time and for the next few days with the greeting Saphuban, which is both I hear you, but it's also reminding them of their good deeds, their virtues, their great qualities. Now, it's not an automatic forgiveness. It's not that we do so much, oh, it's okay, that's all right, it doesn't matter. Everything's for the good, right? That it's too quick, perhaps, that we forgive somebody. We're bypassing that. And we're also, I'm not saying we're punishing them, but we're allowing some time for that forgiveness process to happen. So they continue to say this to this person every time they see them. Saphuban, Saphuban. It's just reminding them they're a good person at heart and how important they are to the rest of the community. And that they know that this person will return to the path of harmony and joy because that is the natural way. That is the way of spirit for us. When we make a misstep, we say something in error, we realize we have hurt somebody. We realize that's not our true self, that we've stepped out of harmony, out of that. And so we can say this to ourselves as well, Saphuban, that, I know my true nature. And I'm going to feel the grief, the sadness of what I've done because I want to learn from that. But I'm also going to know the truth of who I am. And what's also amazing is in the Zulu culture, they have another phrase. It's called shikoba. And this is the person's response. Whether they are greeted with the Sapubana or Saphuban, that they respond with shikoba, which I'm relieved to know that I exist for you. Now that may sound kind of codependent in a way, but listen to more about what that means. It means, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for considering me. Thank you for having you in my heart and for seeing the real true self of me. And I live in this community. I live in this truth of who I am. And that means that I am more than alive. I am thriving because of this deeper heart connection. And it means that they belong to this community no matter what they do, that they're held in that. And I know for us, the Spirit within us is whole, complete, and fabulous. That we give ourselves the space to belong. And it's our undefended heart. Think about that for a minute. Undefended heart. And our non-judgmental mind that creates a space for ourselves to find the forgiveness of ourselves and the space for others to be who they are evolving to be, who we can realize that. Now, I'm an external processor, so sometimes I need somebody to bounce ideas or things that are happening to me. Other people are internal processors. They come to realizations and they share their realizations. I realize things as I'm speaking about them half the time. I don't know, this week's email I talked about learning to drive. Many of you remember that, probably learning how to drive. And at first, you are just learning the basics of just staying in your lane and knowing the right speed takes all your energy. And then my driving teacher told me about defensive driving. And that's a whole different way of thinking about what other people are doing. But what I think that is a model for the way I lived my life for a while, because when I was very young, I just, monitoring my own behavior, how loud, I was kind of a loud kid. I know that would surprise you to know that now. And some of my teachers were also saying that I really wasn't saying much, I was just loud. And knowing my own speed and monitoring myself but then I learned about other people, and some ways I learned about other people is when they were in my lane, when they crossed over me with their comments, or that they hurt me in some way. So I began to drive defensively in my life, defended my heart. That's what we do, right? But as I grew and matured and found some confidence, but also the Spirit within me to know the perfection that I am, I was able to undefend my heart, to be vulnerable and willing to risk what is sometimes called, the poet Mark Nebo called it the exquisite risk, when we're willing to open up and learn. And yes, it's a risk, but there's some value in it. Maya Angelou said that we are only free when we realize that you belong no place, and yet you belong every place, no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great. Now, when I read that quote, I didn't really understand it. I was trying to figure that out, what she meant by that we belong no place at all. And I found online an interview she did with Bill Moyers, and that really helped kind of unwrap this quote a little bit. So Bill Moyers, I just love him the way I can hear his voice as I can hear Maya Angelou's even as I read it. But Bill Moyers asks, "Do you belong anywhere?" And she says, "I haven't yet. But the first time I felt I belonged to any place was in West Africa, in Ghana, when I went to live there. And people were seeing me beyond me being black or a woman or a poet. They just saw me." And I got that. What she was saying is we see people by certain identities that we have of them. Their race, their culture, their gender expression, their orientation, their faith. And we keep that in them. And to open it up and just see a person gives them a place to belong, because they can be just themselves. And then Bill Moyer goes on to say, "Do you belong to anyone?" And Maya Angelou responds, "More and more, I belong to myself." I'm very proud of that. I am very concerned about how I look at Maya. I like Maya very much. I like her humor and the courage very much. And when I find myself acting in a way that doesn't please me, then I have to deal with that. So we're accountable to ourselves, that we can belong to ourselves, and so therefore we can belong everywhere. Because we have that belonging within ourselves, that spiritual connection, so that when we act in a way that isn't courageous, that might be out of fear that we act in, that doesn't please ourselves, then we can treat ourselves with a sapuban, that we know our truth, and the shikoba, which means I live to exist with Spirit in me. That existence is within me, and I appreciate and am grateful for this deeper connection, this heart connection. So I can stay undefended in my heart in that way. So that we can continue to be more of the listening, what Viktor Frankl talked about, between the stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So this is our freedom, that we know that when we're able to observe, to listen, to allow, to take that moment. And our faith is particularly, that's why one reason I love this faith. That's why I can consider it a complete insurance package, is because it provides tools that we can create that space within ourselves and between each other, and an allowing to notice, be mindful of our judgments in that way. So I think the best way to consider it is to think about it as a metaphor, the way we learn to drive. And the first one is to stay in our lane, stay in our own lane. Now this term comes from not only driving, but running and bicycling. If you've ever seen competitive bicyclers, they're going like 25, 30 miles an hour, and they are just right next to each other. And if one person messes up, the whole group tumbles. And so there's a trust there that they know what they're doing, and they will keep their lane. I think one thing that's first of all, I went riding with a couple competitive bicyclers one time, and we were climbing a mountain in Durango, Colorado, and I was behind them, huffing and puffing, trying to keep up with them. And we finally got to this vista, which was a beautiful vista looking out. We probably climbed about 1,500 feet. And I stopped there, and then, I caught up with them. And I go, I made it. And they go, okay, now it's time to really start riding. I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. You guys go ahead. I'll be fine. Right here. It's a beautiful spot to be in. I'll see you when you come back down. So I know there are different levels, but the truth is, when we talk about staying in our own lane, we're also talking about using our strengths, what we do best. There was this movement 30 years ago in schools about helping kids with their weaknesses, to bring them up. But there was a change in schools and in businesses that instead of trying to compensate for weakness, let them do what they do best. Let them do more of it. Let them follow their passions. That's how they learn how to be the best in the world. So we too know what we do best. And that way, what we're called to do, people can count on us to be in the baseball term, our swing zone. I don't know if you know much about baseball. By the way, the Giants are playing incredible right now, aren't they? But sorry, distraction there. I have EDD, which means I'm easily distracted. I don't know. So, but a lot of baseball players, when they're at the bat, they know a strike is coming. It's not like they didn't know it was a strike. It's just not the strike they wanted. They wait for the pitch that they want, that they can hit. Now, sometimes that pitch never comes, and sometimes when it comes, they're a little late on it. But still, it's our swing zone that we do. And in that swing zone and our strength, we want to make sure that we do not, sometimes the lanes on our road can be a little confusing because someone else painted them. But we can paint our own road and create our own life in the way that's easy to track. So in this strength, we do not leave our post. This came across from Valerie Carr when she was talking about that, and it was an amazing story that she was talking about her grandfather, Kiar Singh, who was he came to this country. First of all, he was put in prison because they didn't know what to do with him because he had a turban on, and they thought he might have been a terrorist. I mean, this was 100 years ago, and they still didn't know what to do. But a lawyer, a white male lawyer came, whose name was Henry Marshall, a famous civil rights lawyer, and he came and advocated for him to get out. And he was so grateful. Her grandfather went on to come to California and became a farmer. He got land, and he was an amazing farmer and continued to cultivate this land. But come the 1940s, when he was a farmer, many of the people around him were Japanese farmers. And they were interned because they were thought to be a threat to this nation because we are at war with Japan. And what her grandfather did was he farmed their land for them. And so it was when they were released, when they were let go out of the internment camps, the land was still there for them. Many Japanese people left those internment camps and had no home or business to go back to. These farmers did because that was his post. He was willing to do that. Now the post we have is very different, but we know what we do well. And I wanted to show this quick little ad that was shown on Human Rights Campaign showed it. And it's just kind of a clever way of showing one way that we can fulfill a post.
Allow me.
Thank you.
With other people, to know that they've been heard, to know that they've been heard fully, that they're that we stand with them, and it can be subtle, but don't be like the ostrich that puts her head in the sand and pretends it didn't happen, because it happened, and it happens all the time. Microaggressions, little moments of people being passive aggressive, and we stand with those that are hurt by these things in very subtle ways. That we open up to this greater way. And what I know, there are so many wonderful things that show this truth that comes out. There's a great show on now called Pride Land, and I think it's old, but I'm not sure when it was done, but it's being shown on PBS and because of Pride Month. But this young man, Dylan Burnside, was a Christian musician until he came out to his pastor, and then his pastor fired him as music director and, said that he didn't belong in their church. But he went on to become an actor and very famous now and part of a show. And it just goes through people that have gone through different things. And in the South, and this is another part of my forgiveness work and recognition that Spirit lives in all things. And he was saying that a third of LGBTQ plus people live below the Mason-Dixon line. So we need to reframe what we think about the South. And he talked about in the upper left-hand corner a lesbian couple that have gone through court battles in order to be able to adopt a child. The man in the right was a Presbyterian minister for 10 years before he came out to his community, and they embraced him and loved him and kept him there. He said, the hate mail I got was from people outside of my community. The woman in the lower right was a Bible teacher at her local church and came to her pastor, and she admitted that her sons were gay and she didn't know if she should keep teaching. He goes, just don't tell anybody. Until she came out and did an ad for the Human Rights Campaign, and then, then everything was out. So she had to leave her position as a teacher. And there's many trans, queer, LGBTQ people that are legislators, that are representatives in the South, all over. And so what we know is, and this is the minister who I talked about last week from Fern Creek Church, Reverend Linda Barnes Popman, who talked about whose church was excommunicated from the Southern Baptist Church. But she talked about, I saw an interview with her, and she said, so we misinterpret the Bible so many times. There's one passage she talked about that's the most often quoted about how women should be quiet, submissive. But she said, 2 verses below, it says it's Paul, and Paul seems so righteous at times. He says it from him, not from God. I want women to dress modestly with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes. Now, when I grew up in Texas, the quote was, the higher the hair, the closer to God you are. I mean, women had trouble getting into cars there. So this is why some of this application of Scripture is just, it's blasphemy, is what it is. So what we know is that there are families like this family called a Rainbow family that bring in kids that have to leave their home. They don't have a place to belong. And there's so many of these that just are willing, and this is all in the South, and willing to be in this deeper connection. And what we need to do to continue to do is just create space. Space that is open spaces for people to be. And that's the intention of our courtyard, to have an open space. And you know what happens when you have an open space? Things like this happen. There's dancing and singing, and this is what we want here, to be a space of healing and wholeness, and to embrace all faiths in everything we do, to be willing to have this exquisite risk that Mark Nebo talks about. Because we know, as Viktor Frankl says, no one can take away your freedom, and no one can take away your belonging either. That we are whole, complete, and perfect just where we are. Let us go to prayer. We know within us is this divine nature that we are whole, complete, and perfect, and fabulous, and radiant in all things. And that we are connected to all of life. We just allow Spirit to be that sense of belonging in us, and we know that Spirit is this truth that urges us to cut away anything that fetters us, anything that binds us, any forgiveness that we need to have, awareness, recognition. And Spirit is that space that reveals in us, in and through all things. And for this we're grateful today and always. So we release it into the Word, knowing it is so, and so it is.
This little chant is called Blessing of the Wind, but the subtitle is Free to Be. So you can free to be long or free to be short. You can free to be happy. You can free to be. So that's interesting. That's sort of like I figured it might work today. I got my little charango that I picked up in Peru a couple years ago. He's free to be small. Work. The blessing of the wind carries me home again, dancing to the still small voice within. The softness of the day opens me to pray, gently showing me the way. And I am free, the wind she sings to me. Can you hear me laughing through the trees? You are free to live harmoniously. You are free to be long. The blessing of the wind carries me home again, dancing to the still small voice within. The softness of the day opens me to pray, gently showing me the way. And I am free, the wind she sings to me. Can you hear me laughing through the trees? You are free to live harmoniously. You are free to be long. You You are free to be. You are free to be. You are free to be. Try that with me. You are free to be. You are free to be. I am free. I am free to be. I am free to be. We are free. We are free to be. We are free to be.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. This is a time in our service we invite you to be part of the law of circulation. If we could have our ushers come forward, please. What we know is that which you give is a way to open up to receiving as well. It's a way of opening your heart and a way of creating greater abundance in your life. So you'll notice on the screen several ways that you can donate to our center to support our vision and mission, including online donations, texting, or checks. And we know some of you give through the mail or other ways, so we appreciate those gifts as well. So whether you're giving today or you're giving to the heart or a previous gift, just place your hand on your heart and repeat with me the affirmation that's on the screen. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I relate. And so it is.
God is the source of who I am. God is the dream of what I do. And if it's God I'm talking to, I give myself to be used by you. God is the source of who I am. God is the dream of what I do. And if it's God I'm talking to, I give myself to be used by you. God is the source of who I am. God is the dream of what I do. And if it's God I'm talking to, I give myself to be used by you. I give myself to be used by you. I give myself to be used by you. Yeah. Use me, God.
We'd like to recognize anybody who might be here for the first time. If you're willing to raise your hand, we'd like to give you a gift today. And welcome, welcome. Anybody else here? Oh, we have one in the back here. Welcome. Oh, now he's going to hide, but he put his hand up, so now you've been called out now. So we recognize you, and we appreciate all the people that are here today. And as always, what a wonderful community this is. We have one online as well. Where are they from? Do they name a city? No. Lisa. All right, welcome, Lisa. Glad you're with us today. So we have an affirmation for our new people here, welcoming you to our community. So we raise our hands and we say, We bless you today, knowing that the peace and happiness you seek is also seeking you. We honor your inner radiance as you let your light shine in the world. We are grateful for your presence in our community, and so it is. If I can invite practitioners to come up. Wanted to let you know that we are here for you in all ways, including prayers after the service. If you are interested in a short affirmative prayer, just stay in the sanctuary, and we ask that those who are interested in talking to take your conversation out into the courtyard, please, so we can have this place as sacred. And if you just want it as a place to meditate for a few moments, it's also open for that. So let's all stand for the community affirmation. Repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
I am led by Spirit.
I am led by Spirit.
I am guided by wisdom.
I am guided by wisdom.
I am protected by love.
I am protected by love.
I am here to be a blessing.
I am here to be a blessing.
I am so grateful.
I am so grateful.
And so it is.
So it is.
And now our closing song.
Love be with you, peace enfold you, spirit lift you, and breathe it in. Truth come through you, make it flow to you, let joy renew you, till we meet again. Love be with you, peace enfold you, and spirit lift you. Joy renew you till we meet again. Love be with you. Ooh, 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 love be with you. Be with you.
Absolutely. I know that love is with you in every way. Blessings. Have a great Sunday.
Welcome to the Napa Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We are a vibrant, inclusive, and spiritual community that seeks to live intentionally, love unconditionally, and see God in all people and in all faiths. We believe the work we do in prayer and in the community creates a world that works for all cultures, races, orientations, and faiths. For over 60 years, we have practiced thinking globally and acting locally to help awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Annually, hundreds of people actively participate in our services, classes, events, and in our Spanish-speaking ministry. And we are training the next generation of spiritual leadership in our ministerial school. In the last few years, because of apparent divisions politically and socially, and because of threats to basic human rights, we have magnified our application of Science of Mind principles with engagement and compassionate action in the greater Napa Valley community. Our members have participated in women's marches, pride events, and we have hosted speakers on racial issues. We have empowered and mentored diverse leaders in our community and given scholarships to diverse ministerial students. We have donated over 4,000 pounds of food to our local food bank. Our spiritual director, Reverend Jay Lang, has facilitated an interfaith leadership group to hold public prayer vigils and 9/11 commemorations in participation with Jews, Muslims, and Christians. We have fostered the creation of a beloved community in the larger Napa Valley area by honoring community heroes at events and tithing to and partnering with a dozen different nonprofits that share our vision. Together, we've created a Martin Luther King Day of Service where over 1,200 participated in community service annually. The leadership of our parent organization, the Centers for Spiritual Living, headquartered in Golden, Colorado, recognized our community for all of the outstanding, compassionate work we've been doing over the last few years with the 2022 Meritorious Community Award. As we move forward to do this work of the heart, to awaken the world to its spiritual magnificence, will you join us as we continue to ascend to new heights and create a world that works for everyone?